2, Level 3, Race and Class Selection, an Evil Circus, and a new quest. Hello, crawlers, and welcome to episode 5 of our Dungeon Crawler Carl podcast. We're now into book 2. This is
we
exciting.
are. But shouldn't you read that as book 2, level 3?
Oh, should I do more of the AI voice?
Yeah, of course.
You notice it's quite different this book, right?
I wouldn't say quite different.
It's a little tweaked.
It's a little tweaked.
Yeah. I think it's. I would say it's a bit of a departure.
There's a bit of difference in all the voices a little bit. I'm starting to pick up on it.
Mm-hmm. I think now that he's like easing into it, it's like, you know, he being Jeff Hayes, the narrator of these audiobooks, he's figuring out the characters a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we wrapped up. We did 4 episodes to wrap up, doing a comprehensive, full end-to-end, never missed a thing look at book 1 of Dungeon Crawler Carl.
We covered every single word of that thing.
There was a comment that I shared with these guys, some fan mail where someone was like, "Hey, you guys are missing a lot of stuff," and I was like, "Are we missing a lot of stuff?"
There's only if you want the full cover of the story, it's on audible.com. You just read the book. You know, there's only so much time we have here to be able to cover any of it. So yeah, there's a bunch of details that we're going to leave out.
You would think, but watch what we do this time.
Oh, jeez.
There is, I think we're covering chapters 1 through 10, which should be about like 4 to 5 hours. This is going to be a 6-hour episode.
Yeah. This was such a dense 10 chapters. There's so much that happens.
There's so much that happens.
Yeah, it's kind of nutty. And full disclosure, we chose chapters 1 through 10 a little bit arbitrarily because we didn't actually pick, as of starting to record our last episode, where we're going to do our next batch. And yeah, I feel like it ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah. And
also felt a little bit like, we could have chosen maybe before that or after, but I don't mind it. In fact, there's one part in chapter 10 that I'm really glad we get to cover in this episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
But there's a lot of fun stuff that we're going to be covering in this episode. And before we get to that, we should do our previously on. Oh. Before we do that, I'm so sorry. I'm Grant.
I'm John.
And I'm Martin.
Okay, now we're going to do it.
Previously on Dungeon Crawler Carl. Carl and Donut have descended to the 3rd floor, which appears as an open-air village. They make their race and class character selections and enlist a reluctant Mordecai as their manager. While exploring their new surroundings, they find themselves tangled up in a quest with the denizens of a fallen circus, leading to Donut's capture and an encounter with a level 85 city boss.
All right, so that brings us to...
Wow,
so
that was a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we ended on Carl cutting his hand and bleeding into the tree root and setting the stage for what he's going to do with Grimaldi in the circus.
Mm-hmm.
So that brings us to you, Martin, where we
Okay.
like to kick things off.
Okay, sure.
You have finished the first book. We dragged you along through that one.
Yep.
And now you've jumped into this one. What do you think now with book 2?
Well, the first thing I would want to say is, Grant, I think you're right that he's backing off of the Patrick Warburton shtick. It's still that voice, but not so sticky.
Yeah. Like it feels like he's acting more.
Yes. In fact, yeah. And I mean, part of it is that we're finding more about Carl's backstory. So he's becoming more human, not just such a character, or a caricature, if the case may be. And Mordecai, has, coming back into it now, it's sort of a careful what you wish for, because it was always like, man, I want more Mordecai. But now that he's back as this, sort of a demonish thing that's getting shit-faced all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is not so good having you around.
I guess Mordecai is profoundly broken.
Yes. But also another, outside of just the story itself, the new Mordecai voice is so much like Carl's voice that for the first few chapters, I had trouble telling who was talking between the two.
Mm. There's a little bit of twang that Mordecai has more so, I think.
It wasn't so twangy in the beginning.
Right.
But as it goes on, it gets more twangy. And now where I am, it's easy to distinguish the two.
And I appreciate that twang because he gives it to all the Skyfowl characters. If you notice it, there's a lot of vocal characteristics that are consistent within a certain race or type of character, which is really cool. And it really helps me as a listener of the audiobook kind of differentiate the characters. It feels a lot more cinematic in that way.
The Skyfowl a little bit more like Western.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because of the nature of him being a changeling, Mordecai.
Yeah.
We might see that accent change a little bit more as well.
Yeah. No, once it did this, I was like, okay, this is going to be a thing with him. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It was just, it's jarring that they're like, oh, he's been made a manager. He's going to help them all the time. And in the beginning, it's like, oh my God, he's going to be obnoxious and useless. Now what? It does come around. It comes around. But in the beginning, I was like, oh no.
But he is still kind of obnoxious and useless for a good portion of this.
It's pretty great. I love that there's something relatable about the fact that as soon as he gets the opportunity, he's like, I'm a sexy fuck demon. I'm gonna go get sloshed.
Yeah, right.
And go hook up with some grannies or whatever he's doing. It's like, right on, Mordecai.
Right.
So we are going to cover chapters 1 through 10 today, and then your homework assignment, listeners. I'm going to say it at the top of the episode as well as the very end. Next episode, we're going to cover chapters 11 through 18. Just want to give you a heads up. And I think that we listened ahead a little bit, and I think 18 is a pretty good stopping point.
Yeah, the 18th chapter, we are going to cover the 18th chapter in the next episode. So read through to the end of that chapter.
Yeah. But before we go into our linear, analysis of the book, I set up a little game for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Because they get to do a race and class selection, I thought we should do one as well.
Fine. Okay.
I choose white.
I choose cat. Oh. I guess you win.
No, what I made actually is a
I'll just stay Mexican. I'm going to stay Mexican. That's my race. I'm going to get bonuses to my auto mechanic skill.
So I made a little spinning wheel with a whole bunch of these races. I included some D&D ones as well as all the ones I could find on the Dungeon Crawler Carl wiki.
Okay.
And I thought we were going to really rapidly with each of us spin 3 times, and then we have to make a quick gut decision pick on a race.
Okay.
And then we'll move to class. So let's go ahead and start with you, Ribio.
Okay.
Your options are Ratkin, a gleaner. We might have to look up what a gleaner is.
Yeah, I don't know what a gleaner is.
I don't even know what a ratkin is.
The word rat's in it.
Yeah.
Or a cretin.
Oh, he's got that covered.
Yeah, I'm already a cretin. I'll pick cretin.
Okay, you are officially a cretin.
Fuck.
A level 1 cretin. Martin, let's go ahead and jump in with you.
All right.
Your options will be a minotaur. I think we know what those are.
Ooh.
He gets fucking minotaur? I get ratkin and cretin?
Well, I still might get ratkin.
A gnome.
All
Minotaur, a gnome.
Okay.
Both cool.
Or a fairy.
Huh.
Those are all cool.
They are all cool. Man, fairies come with a lot of powers.
Yeah.
And all. Ew. I don't know what a minotaur has other than its strength.
It's probably a big bruiser.
And its speed. I got to go with minotaur.
Okay. Well, let's figure out what mine's going to be real quick. I have an orc, I can't believe you got Ratkin. We're all doing normal shit, and you got Gleaner and Ratkin.
Ratkin was the best one he got.
Hey, what the fuck is this? A
hobbledy-doo?
hobbledehoy?
That's already what you are.
I'm gonna have to put little pictures on the side for anyone watching.
That hobbledehoy is something Adam Sandler made up.
And a Bune. I don't know what the hobbledehoy and Bune are.
You set up a whole game where you don't know what any of these things are.
It feels like the crawlers. You shouldn't know what it is.
Okay, we'll pick one.
All right.
I'm gonna be a hobbledehoy, and I'm gonna put up a picture of whatever the hobbledehoy is.
It's just going to be another picture of himself. But his eyes are a little closer together.
I have regular vision. All right, and now on to the other element, which is our class selection.
Okay.
I just ran through our own AI, ChatGPT, and said, make a couple options for us. And I'm only going to give you guys the title of it. And then if you pick one, I can read what it does. Starting with Rubio, your options are a cursed concept artist, a pretentious hop alchemist, or a dungeon crawler zealot.
Okay, I'll go with cursed concept artist.
Yeah, that sounds like that would work out the best.
Yeah.
Summons half-finished monsters and work-in-progress minions that are effective only if you keep pretending they're intentional. Gain strength the more unpaid overtime they perform.
I can literally just draw hobbledehoos or whatever you are.
Perfect. All right, Martin, you are either a plot hole crusader,
Okay.
cat daddy sage,
Okay.
or casual cultist.
I'll go with the cat daddy sage.
A charisma-based class specializes in morale boosts, struts into battle dropping smooth advice and healing vibes, buffs the party with charm, derails enemies with compliments.
He literally already is that too.
Ultimate move? Daddy's got this. Blocks death with pure swagger. Can't sprint, only vibes, instantly KO'd by the word mid.
He's just a cool fucking minotaur. And I'm a cretin who only draws jerks.
I mean, yeah.
I'm a minotaur who can't sprint.
He's just like a smooth walking.
Right.
You guys can pick mine. I'm either an AI artist, quote unquote, or an insufferable podcast host.
That's one. That's the one.
Yeah.
Talks for 3 hours, says nothing new. Deals steady psychic damage through endless analysis, tangents, and obscure references no one asked
Of
for.
Lost.
All to Lost.
Yeah.
Gains powers by interrupting co-hosts to quote lore, mispronounce names, and plug their Patreon. Ooh! Speaking of which, we have a Patreon. Patreon.com/HelloCrawlers. If you find that we aren't being comprehensive enough about what we're discussing here, let me just tell you that Rubio and I go even further with our deep crawls, going into much more of the minutia of the story. And you can join us there. I think $5 a month and help support the show. And in turn, maybe you'll enjoy some of the discussions we have going on there.
And there it is, full spoilers. We assume you've read the whole series.
All the way up through book 7 currently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, all of it.
So you're not allowed.
No.
I mean, you can. You're just going to be like, huh?
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Or real mad.
Right. Then I'll just get through the next 5 books going like, yeah, okay, I know what's going to happen.
I've got a non-sprinting minotaur mad at me.
Just strutting around. And I'll beat your ass once I get there.
I got your number.
Got your number. Just sits down.
All right, guys, let's jump into discussing our Donut and Carl getting their class and race choice selections. What'd you guys think? They enter into World 3, and we have this open, expansive world. Were you expecting that?
Yes.
Yeah, you thought like, oh, eventually it's gonna.
Yeah. I mean, Mordecai's saying, things are going to change when you get to level 3.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we get this expansive world, and it's in that kind of, it sounds diminishing when I say this, but it's sort of that Harry Potter thing where you get to Diagon Alley and it's, okay, you've been in this cooped up environment and now you're seeing more of the world and it's everything and everybody walking around. If you ever go to Naples, it feels like that.
Or Caesar's Palace, because the sky's fake.
That's true.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of which, Rubio and I once went to Caesar's Palace underground thing. and we saw an alien there ourselves. We saw Dennis Rodman.
Oh.
He looked like an alien.
Okay, the best part about that was that we were sitting at a bar. We were at the Arturo Fuente cigar bar having mojitos, and
Wow.
Dennis Rodman walks in.
Yeah.
And this guy goes, "Hey, is that Dennis Rodman? Who else is it? Green hair. He's like 7 feet tall. He looks like a freaking alien. Who else is that? There's no other person that looks like that."
I love it. You guys are in Caesar's Palace, in the cigar bar, just doing the coolest thing possible. And Grant walks in and says the dorkiest thing you can. just to totally kill the vibe.
Killed it.
Trying to. I did kill the vibe. So we have a little bit of strategy and gamemanship going on here. Odette had given advice that we now learn what it is. And it was that they need to strategically pick the race, or rather the class for Donut, to include a manager bonus so that they can rope Mordecai in to having to work alongside them and guide them.
I love the fact that they use subterfuge for that.
Yes.
And the how smart it was that they acted like, oh, well, she's a cat. She didn't know what she was doing. And it was planned the whole time. And it was a whole like, don't let him know we did this on purpose.
Yeah, he's going to be mad.
Yeah.
So if Donut does it, she sees him, or he sees her like a little kid. So he can't be mad at her too long. Let her do it and make it look like a mistake.
Right. And we've already seen hints that Donut is smarter than what she pretends to be.
Oh, yeah.
But she also has a great track record of being impulsive.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the characterization has already set the stage that this feels fully plausible. And we even get Mordecai using Carl's line of, "God damn it, Donut."
Yeah.
Which was pretty great. And for you, very confusing because they sound the same.
There is that.
Yeah.
But so are they still getting more, I guess, points or views every time Carl says his catchphrase of "God damn it, Donut"?
They say at the beginning of each chapter, like, the stats of like how many trillions of viewers and favorites they have. And those numbers are so large that they become relatively meaningless to me beyond their popularity keeps growing.
Yes.
That's all I really take it as, because I'm like, I can't fathom what that is. Or, unless the numbers are like 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42, they mean nothing to me. You guys like that one?
There's one person.
I actually appreciate that one.
There's one person watching who understood that reference who just groaned.
Well, even they didn't like it.
Yeah, the one person who understood it was like, "Oh, stop."
Everyone else is Googling and going, "Oh,
why isn't he the creep?"
We have her pick. What is it? A former child actor?
Yeah, she stays a cat for her.
No, I love that. And don't know what you know. Cat. I choose cat.
Just no deliberation, nothing. I'm a cat.
She didn't even need Odette to tell her that. You can tell that's just like within her personality and her pride. She is a cat and wants to remain a cat.
Yeah, you're not going to be Princess Donut the cat and then choose something else.
Mm-hmm. Right? That's completely her identity. And there's a part where Mordecai talks about how there's cat ladies and werecats, and she's like, "What an abomination." She's so pissed off.
She's so grossed out.
Well, fuck, a cat lady? Hell no. Very funny to me.
But she does get that former child actor class.
Which is, I think, by far the funniest class I've heard.
Artist Alley Mogul is also really funny.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
Yeah, but just this former child actor. And how she gets these other class upgrades like per level that she can kind of pivot to because she's being a character actor within these other roles. That's cool, like, to be able to have it both ways. Mm-hmm. The writing of that, I like it.
Well, a lot of what was fun was when they give the descriptions of the different classes, and you as the reader going like, which one of these would I go with?
Right.
And and even the ones they pick, I was like, I think that was my second choice, but I'm sure they know best.
Yeah. The story construct is you save the best for the last one. So you have 1, 2, 3. That third one is going to be the one that they want. It was the same with Carl when he got to the what is it? Paid compensated anarchist.
Compensated anarchist. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was the third option, and I already know he's going to pick it. But I was still like, yeah, I can't wait till we get to the description for that one. And it was fucking awesome. Like, it's just like rattling off all these stats and buffs and all that he gets with it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, of course you'd pick that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was also interesting that for both Carl and Donut, the reason those two that they ended up picking were so good was because of their popularity. They got access to those classes. Like, they got trillions of views, and that was like, as soon as they hit that threshold, that meant that they had access to that.
Yeah.
Which was also like clever.
Really clever. And one of the things that I loved about the different class selections and race selections are they all come with their different like skill tweaks and bonuses and stuff. And one of them that Donut gets as a former child actor is really important, becomes really important. She gets that cockroach skill.
I bet it is.
Yeah, you don't get something like that. That's kind of like almost a resurrection spell without it coming into play.
Yeah, if you're going to die, it saves you from death and puts you at 5 points of life or something, like puts you within 5 points of dying.
And an item like that is more inevitable than Chekhov's gun.
Right.
Especially since Carl is continually repeating about like how fragile she is. And she's a fighter who's got a ranged weapon because she can't do too much close combat, although she's got
those claws.
Got the claws.
But
she can't take a hit.
Yeah, her constitution's real low.
Yeah.
She also is like, she can't take criticism. Well, she's very fragile all of
That is another truth, yeah. And she can't take that kind of hit either.
There's a line about Mordecai's room where he has now beds in the room.
Yeah.
Which I thought was like, it's one of those considerations that even though you don't make use of it in this story that we have, because Carl becoming a primal and Donut remaining a cat, they don't end up needing the beds. I just thought that was clever that you still consider the fact that other characters would be transforming and they might need a bed to lay in order to do that transformation.
Yeah.
It's just more like rounding out of the world, and that these things are thought of. Later in chapter 10, we also get a reference to Carl taking off his night cloak and placing it on his lap because he's about to poison himself. And that has a thing that prevents poison. And it's like, that starts to give you this idea that the author, Matt Dinneman, has written a lot of these elements that he has to really like be careful and consider. Oh, are you equipped with this? Or are you carrying this problem, or have you taken care of these 3 steps or whatever before this plot point can actually take place?
But if they're not mentioned, sure, fine, whatever. The fact that they are mentioned when they're mentioned really makes it feel like a living, breathing world.
Yeah.
So that is super appreciated.
Yeah, it's so smart, so clever. There's one of my favorite lines that Jeff Hayes delivers, and I made an audio clip because I wanted you guys to listen to it.
Okay.
Because I love, and I re-listened to this line, and maybe it's just me, but go ahead and put your headphones on.
But she will now have access to a few racial benefits she didn't have before.
Benefits? What are they?
Donut asked. I don't know, Princess Donut, Mordecai said, sounding exasperated. We never got to examine the cat choice in the menu.
I love so much how he goes, I don't know, Princess Donut. And I really feel like Mordecai's just pissed right there.
Sure. So I guess now that he's a manager, they can just summon him from wherever he is to be there. And it reminded me, and nobody remembers these anymore, but it's a Looney Tunes cartoon, Bugs Bunny, where he gets Aladdin's lamp.
Yes.
And the genie is off doing other things. Like he's asleep. He's trying to brush his teeth. He's getting summoned while he's brushing his teeth. On the last time, he's about to kiss a girl and he gets summoned. And he's like, That's fucking it.
I am one of the biggest Looney Tunes fans
Mhm.
in the world. I think there's nothing funnier than a good Looney Tunes
Yeah.
cartoon. And yes, that's how it feels. And you know what else? Listening to that, I grew up in Texas. It's like getting scolded at school by a teacher. And that happened to me a lot. So that really did something to me.
I think I was just like really noticing more and more in this book, like the performance that Jeff Hayes was putting in. And I don't know, for some reason, that line in particular, I was just like, that one, just, I really felt it. It felt like the exasperation of a character more so than the reading of lines from a book. And I was just like, oh, I'm in it. Like, it's a funny comedic line, and it just hit.
Well, you know what? It didn't quite sting so much to me in as much as they knew they pulled a fast one on him. And they had to just keep quiet and go with whatever he says so he wouldn't figure it out.
You can't snark back.
Yeah.
Shut up. Well, let's jump over to Carl, because I think it's really interesting that we get introduced to a primal.
Yeah.
For more than just the fact that like that's what he picks, there's like this deeper mythology that you find out to the universe in what the primal is, because it's this, I don't even know if it's a placeholder. It's just what they kind of refer to as the ancients of the universe that set up a lot of mechanics previous to whatever different alien factions are now like running things, I guess, in the universe.
Right.
And so
they're like the Prometheus aliens?
I guess.
Yeah,
right?
they're the earliest known
Architects.
Architects of the syndicate, or what eventually becomes a syndicate. Like, they're the first race that had technology to go beyond their own world.
And it seems like they had some sort of relationship to the AI, in so much as there's this line about when aliens visit any world that has an AI in it, the AI as a primal replicates what the aliens that visit it look like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you can remain what you look like. So Carl can remain in his boxers as this and still be a primal, and it has these other kind of upgrade elements. I thought it's cool about him being able to stay this and yet transform to some degree.
You skipped over a really important part.
Okay.
And that was his selection choices were human, hobgoblin, which would have been great for, his...
Throwing bombs?
Yeah, throwing bombs. And Sasquatch,
Yeah.
which would be great for melee and even bigger feet.
I mean, yeah, the human and Bigfoot were just foot stuff, right? More foot stuff.
It's literally just more foot stuff.
Yeah, and him deciding on primal, he still gets to keep his feet and be favorite pet.
But I do love that when he reads the description for Sasquatch, he's like, here's all this stuff, plus you have like size 20 something feet, or just a crazy number, like huge size foot. And Carl, there was a bit of a gross. Like, I feel gross. There's no way that's going to happen.
So objectified.
Yeah, he feels objectified. He feels almost like an assault victim.
Well, later they find an anklet bracelet thing, and the AI is so quick to be like, these are disgusting. Unlike toe rings, no one should ever wear these. And he's like, okay, Donut, you take this, because the AI is not going to like me if I put this on.
Yeah.
And he knows he's got to play that game. He's got to curry the favor of the AI, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though it's so creepy.
He's got to play along, and at the same time, his hold to his credo that you will not break me.
Well, they are able to play Mordecai into being their manager, and I mean, we can see how that would be beneficial to have someone who already knows the world like on your side and can give you tips and tricks and clues and all that.
Yeah, Audette says that his brain is probably the most valuable asset in the dungeon because he's just brilliant, and he's also an alchemical genius.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a little bit of an alcoholic.
A big-time alcoholic.
Yeah. Although not a successful one because he's in that body and it's just not working for him.
Right.
But I think that kind of begs the question, like, are we going to encounter trouble down the road from Mordecai finding out?
I feel like we are.
And are they also on the hook with Odette now that she set them up with this? Odette.
I think they are. You don't have 10 books without things circling back around.
Right. So these two things are lingering as these complications. And
Yeah, you know that expression everybody likes to use, that it's better to ask for permission. I mean, better ask for forgiveness than permission. And that is such short-term thinking. And I've seen that go wrong, horribly wrong, so often.
Well, what people don't understand is that, sir, is a tool. And once in a while, it's a tool that makes sense to use. It shouldn't be a rule to do all the time.
I think they have quite extenuating circumstances, though. It's their life.
Yes.
They are fighting for their life as their entire civilization is gone.
Yes.
So dragging him in, like, I guess my question that I'm a little bit unclear on is, does he lose his not exoneration, getting out of jail, doing his time in the dungeon because of this? He doesn't, right?
It sounds like it's just extended.
Yeah, he
But
just
for a
now
long
has to deal
time.
with this. And maybe, there's this other element of, like, now he has to commit more emotional time to, like, caring about them. It's one thing of being like, okay, I did my 2 floors with you guys, helped you pick your class, and now I never have to see you again. So if you die, I don't have to deal with the pain of losing you guys.
But I can leave this hell that I've been ensnared in.
Yeah, he was almost out.
Forever.
Now he's dragged back in.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you were in prison. They wrongly convicted.
Sometimes I imagine.
But your parole is going to come through and you're going to get out. But somebody who's been your prison buddy falsely snitches on you just to reduce his own sentence. And now you got another 2 years. Now, would you say, well, I understand the guy was in a tough spot.
He was in a bind.
I guess so. He's a good bud. I'd do it. I'd do it to him. I guess I get it. It's pretty relatable. Oh, wait, no, the opposite.
Yeah.
I feel the opposite.
Yeah.
I'm very frustrated at him.
Yes.
What a jerk.
And you probably plot your revenge.
It was
Because you'd
pretty
have
funny.
2 or 3 more years to think about it.
Carl's options were bomb squad tech, prize fighter, and compensated anarchist, of which he chose compensated anarchist. But yeah, like being a, using his fist to punch things, a pugilist, what was I going to say?
Yeah.
Or a bomb guy, both make sense.
I do really like the explanation for compensated anarchist. The compensated anarchist will happily throw a Molotov cocktail through a window one moment and step in front of a camera to plead for the violence to stop the next.
Yeah, that's pretty perfect. And I feel like this option became available to him after he went on the Maestro show and kind of challenged the system. Once he set foot in that and became a bit of a spectacle to his benefit by challenging authority there, it allowed him access to this, and that's going to kind of play out because of it.
Sure. And him being a rebel, it's highly entertaining. But entertainment systems like this love to pump somebody up just to set them up to fall.
Just to bring them down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is the system kind of having its cake and eating it too.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's interesting seeing all the different facets of how this world is set up, or how this game mechanic is set up, in that it's not just the crawlers watching the crawlers, it's these games within the games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we learn about quests being a game within the game. We learn about the talk shows that are able to spin off and be their own market based off of this. And then, people being able to watch the individual crawlers as well as like this other high level analysis going on.
Yeah.
There's so much texture to this. as well as people probably placing bets on who rises up and who challenges the system and who's effective and who isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all a considered element of the game. Even people challenging the system when you're supposed to be hush hush and not talk about the Kuatine. But you might get rewarded in some way if you do.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. It's fast. I just wish that people would challenge our current system a bit more too.
So about this point, they hear the second floor collapse.
Yeah.
And then there's an announcement where they learn they have 8 days to complete this floor. And Mordecai is like, 8 days? Like, that's really a short amount of time for this. And there's only about 700,000 crawlers left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ever decreasing, the time's creeping up, and that's probably not good on the infrastructure of the power system either.
Yeah.
Them rushing things, I don't know if that's going to work out for them.
Yeah, it seems like by the time we get to the 9th floor, there'll only be 100 people left.
Yeah. But maybe something will have to change there eventually. Yeah.
Oh, the other thing we learned is Mordecai can leave his room now. Like, he can actually leave and go out and do stuff. He can't fight, but he can follow them to different areas.
He can fuck.
He can do all that.
He can drink.
Mm-hmm.
What more do you need?
That's all he wants.
Yeah, he's good. There's this imagery of when they're finally presented, and Carl steps out. Like, Mordecai has to wear a suit and be all formal, I guess, about presenting his contestants, I guess, or whatever they are.
Plus, he's a total babe.
And he's a babe,
Right.
He's a hottie, and he's getting hit on. But Carl talks about how he steps out with Donut standing on his shoulders and then little Mongo on top of her. And he's like, we look like the most ridiculous vaudeville act. And I thought it's such a funny image. Like, how fucking ridiculous. Yeah. Like a little raptor on top of a cat on top of this guy in his underwear.
Now, is it at this point that Mongo is big enough for Donut to be on his shoulders?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, Mongo's still about a third of the size of Donut. Like,
okay.
He's like a little squaw.
Yeah.
But he does rapidly increase in size.
Yeah, every time he goes up a level, he actually gets visibly bigger.
So once we move past, them all getting their class selection and being pushed out into the world, we kind of get this old-timey, it feels like a D&D village. It's like these cobble streets and these stone buildings, and you can imagine these like little wooden signs kind of creaking everywhere you go. And yeah, it just has that feel of like, oh, we're in a D&D campaign.
The Overcity.
Yeah. We learn a little bit of this mythology that is going to carry through the levels from level 3, 6, like every 3 levels. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and then finally 18.
Yeah, they're a connected quest storyline.
And that it's like a 6-level mythology story. I love when there's like real world mythology stuff, like from our knowledge of mythology that's threaded into the game. And then other ones of like, oh, this never made it to Earth. But there's like this inverted volcano that there's 6 layers to, and everyone lives within that. And that is kind of the construct for every 3rd level going through this world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Dante's 7 levels of hell.
Yeah. It's interesting how that's going to continue manifesting, because we get little glimpses into like Carl watches that video and he sees what another primal looks like, but this is a guy that's flying with wings on the 12th floor. Was that what it was?
Yeah.
And he's flying around and fighting this city boss that's the size, or a country boss that's this giant like fire monster the size of an arena.
Yeah, it's like a demon that's just as big as a football arena.
And he keeps going, what the hell is that? And he's like too locked in and like in awe of what it could be.
And Carl's like, is that the guy that made it to the 3rd? No, that guy died a minute after the thing you saw. Like, he died immediately after the camera cut away from that.
But that's a cool visual, because I remember that description right there has stayed with me through all 7 books, of this buildup of seeing something like that eventually in a level 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's this glimmer of like what could be.
Kaiju.
Yeah, kaiju. Let's talk a little bit about this Overcity, because it is a big area about the size of the state of Arizona. It has a bunch of connected cities. There is, like you said, a bunch of levels below it, along with a volcano that has a big monster at the bottom. Scolopendra, that apparently had come up and unleashed her 9-tier attack, and a bunch of horrible things happened. The ones that were lucky died quickly, but the ones that weren't lucky were transformed into whatever's left over, like the monsters and the mobs that are still there. The NPCs are interesting because they're living biological creatures, right? And they're actually created and designed and printed for use on these, odd level floors, right? The 3, 6, 9 floors. And their minds are wiped, when they're needed somewhere else in the storyline, and they're reused. And it's a really kind of horrifying existence that these created NPCs have because of their lot,
Yeah, it's like this dungeon is set up to where, every time you get a moment of adventure and fun, it comes back to remind you, this is not fun.
No. Yeah.
There's nothing fun about this.
This is a horror story.
Yeah. All of these people are indentured, perpetual slaves, with their minds being wiped. There's a mention of the 18th floor, where I guess the rich and elite always just kind of go, which feels like Westworld, and how they describe it, they go for fun and debauchery, and there's no rules, so all the NPCs are at your disposal, essentially, for your own desires.
And nobody's made it to the 15th and the 18th floor, so there's no plan for those floors. So it's just a party. It's just a bacchanalian party.
Yeah, it is awful. And yet it's also this curiosity now, because we're well, if our boy Carl, there's a story about him, and he's got plot armor. I love the meta description of what's her name, that she's got plot armor.
Oh yeah, Signet.
Yeah. Because I'm well, that's kind of for us. Carl's got plot armor. He's our lead character, so he's gonna go the distance, theoretically. And yeah, he will eventually see what's on those worlds or on those levels.
It's a question of how are they going to treat him when he gets there.
Or how's he going to treat them.
Celebrity, but also a commodity, a thing, a plaything for them.
So there are ruins in this area. There's like I said, a big volcano with Scolopendra at the bottom. There are village guards scattered throughout the area. There's level 75, really, really scary, unstoppable village guards. There are the ruins. There's a bunch of monsters that live there. There's a lot of lore that's kind of just dumped about the area, and we don't really get to see all that stuff until a little bit later in the story. But it's a really nice kind of primer right in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the framework, but what we're presented with is a evil circus narrative, and we get that right off the bat with a bunch of angry, skull-headed, vine-infected lemurs attacking with throwing knives from all over the place, and giraffes, and creepy Slenderman clowns. They have to run and hide, and then fight a few of these. They come across a Batista family that has been killed. That's where they get that bracelet from. But it's a, I think that's the only other humans we come across so far in these first 10 chapters.
For now, I think there are a couple of crawlers that they see when they go into the Overcity for the first time that they just kind of wave at and they're recognized.
Oh, right.
But aside from that, yeah, there's a group of dead crawlers.
Which that seems significant too, because when it was in the first 2 levels, encountering other humans was kind of a big deal. So to see them and just kind of give them a nod and we're going to go about our business seems uncharacteristic, I guess, in a way.
Right.
Because you'd be desperate for that other like human contact.
True. But there's been introduced the element of the crawler killers.
Yeah.
So it does make you a little hesitant to go mix with other humans just in case. I mean, I know you can check to see if if they have skulls on them, but there is a certain thing of like, man, I don't know how much I can trust my own people now.
But I don't actually know at this point how scary or tough Carl is, but he seems to have the swagger of a person who would be like, yeah, I'm okay with confronting you.
Well, you know what? It is
I'm
when
not
it's like,
frightened.
I mean, I wonder, like, okay, like there's those things that are level 73, but if you're like, well, I killed a level 92. I mean,
Yeah.
how tough can these things
Well,
be?
I don't think he killed it. I think he just figured out
I know.
how it can make itself die.
He was just about to kill it.
Yeah, he's pretty close. I mean, but you'd have some swagger. You might even like, have a little overconfidence at that point.
Yeah, in fact, we're gonna get to that question of his confidence. Because of wait, is that not in this chapter? I keep getting confused about where it goes.
I know, it's tough.
Stop.
Okay. Anyway, I just think that the guy has a lot of confidence, which is impressive, is all I will say.
So what you were about to say was that he comes in contact with these lemurs from Grimaldi's traveling circus, and then gets a quest announcement or a quest notification saying you got a new quest. The show must go on. You've discovered the remnants of an ancient circus. Find out why this circus still exists and end its reign of terror.
So Mordecai has said, stay away from Signet.
Stay away from Quest.
Yeah, stay away from Quest. And they've done neither.
Well, Signet gets introduced with the quest. So that's something that I think they're about to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like ugly, hot, sexy.
Right.
He's allured by it, so he doesn't know what to do there.
Yeah.
Until he has to break his finger to get out of that.
Yeah. So yeah, Carl asks Mordecai, what quest? What the hell? And Mordecai's like, I'm really drunk right now.
Right.
He actually he's mumbling a bunch of incomprehensible shit. Some of it is like, Mom loved him more. Well, who's the dead one now?
That's pretty heavy.
Really heavy.
It's pretty heavy to think that he's carried around his mom's ashes with this other element of bitterness.
Yeah. So right now, Carl and Donut are blind. They just got a quest notification. Don't know what the hell that means. They ask their manager. He's wasted drunk. So what do you do in that situation? You start bombing lemurs. You just start throwing bombs.
To be fair, he said, fuck off for 2 hours. Give me at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because he had a plan. He was like, Daddy gonna go get drunk for a couple hours. You guys go play.
He doesn't give them that reason. He just says, hey, make it 4 hours maybe before you get to a safe room. Just explore.
He did actually say, I'll be on the comms. And so that's on him. He's dropping the ball.
Yeah, so there's this big fight between the lemurs and giraffes, and Carl and Donut are fighting their way through. They see this giant clown, this 11-foot tall, level 10 Terror the Clown is called, and end up killing him eventually. And there's a bunch of other mobs that are like surrounding the area. They escape by the skin of their teeth into a safe room, and they approach the bar. And anytime they go to a safe room, their manager teleports into it from wherever they are. And Mordecai expressed some frustration about that earlier, but we finally get to see that happen. And he teleports into the safe room. His pants are all the way down to his ankles. He's drunk off his ass, and he's like talking to two girls that were in the room and their grandma. And he was about to get down. He vomits on the floor and then sits in it and passes out.
We've all been there. I mean, it's just
that
not all of
that's
us.
a Tuesday.
Yeah, not all of us have that written about us in a book. Pretty low of you, Matt. That could have been just like alluded to. Said you just put it right in the chapter. Embarrassing poor Mordecai. Yeah, that's pretty. It tracks with like the rich character building of Mordecai being this this tortured soul who's gone through a rough ordeal, and he gets a chance at a reprieve. And even then, he doesn't get to enjoy it, and it gets really embarrassing.
He doesn't only get his chance at a reprieve, he's also just found out this time isn't over for him. Like, he's got to stay in here against his will because he's a manager.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'm going to get shithoused.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ape shit on everything I want to have happen because I kind of need to self-soothe for a while.
Yeah, he just needs a spa. A little spa day.
That's probably where he was.
Yeah. Well, I think that him, there's a scene later where he smells drunk because he gets the babka drunk. And there's a little bit of a redemption there where Carl's like, you're just drunk again? What the hell? Because he smells like a filthy bar, he says. But you now see that like he's playing into what he did before for their benefit. He's now like getting to work on to help them because he's now like, oh, I'm going to get the babka drunk, and sure, like he's not going to brush your hair, Donut, but at the same time, I'm going to get a newsletter that tells me what's going on in the world. Like he's gathering intel for them. He's gathering supplies from the back kitchen. I thought it's kind of cool to like see this is the benefit you do get when you get Mordecai. He's there like explaining about like potions, explaining about the mechanics of the plants. So yeah, we get this low, and then we get him kind of building himself back and getting not only into their good graces, but kind of helping save them.
Can I talk about before all of that? They're in the safe room.
I was just riffing on Mordecai.
No, sure. That comes in the story.
Yeah.
There's a safe room situation where like, okay, Mordecai is still passed out drunk, and they're going to use this time to open up all their boxes and, check their achievements and stuff. And Donut gets a scented candle, a cat tree, and an earth hobby potion. In fact, they both get hobby potions, which give them a skill that could be useful, could be not, but it's just like a free skill. Here you go. And Donut gets Scuttlifily. They don't know what the hell Scuttlifily is. Carl gets Sesta Punta. They don't know what the fuck Sesta Punta is.
Right, you know what that is, though. You speak Spanish.
I know what it is.
Just not going to tell us. Okay, cool.
Not going to tell
That's
you.
fine.
Yeah, she gets a spell
He's
book.
Mexican, not Puerto Rican.
Yeah, it's a different situation. I still know what it is.
I'm sorry, go on.
There's also a spell book that Donut gets for a really useful spell called Clockwork Triplicate.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that. That
comes into play a lot. Carl gets a cactus, like a little succulent, just for color, I guess. And he also gets a collection of Louis L'Amour books.
See, I have a question about this. The Louis L'Amour books, he actually explains, like, his father had these Louis L'Amour books, and we've already learned enough about Carl that we know his dad sucks.
Yeah.
He was a piece of shit, and he also broke his slingshot, so fuck that guy. But he had these Louis L'Amour, like old Western books, right?
Yeah.
And he loved reading these kind of pulp Western books. And that makes me think like these are supposed to be these nostalgic tethers to Earth for them, because the candle very much reminds Donut of B and of the apartment, and the cat tree bed just reminds her of home and of being a cat and that life. Carl acts perplexed by the plant, but I'm thinking that plant, in like reading the mind of Carl by the AI, has some significance that he didn't put together.
Now, are these gifts granted by the AI or by their viewers?
My sense is that it's by the AI.
Okay.
I believe it's the AI. And we get a lens into the AI seeming to really know Carl, like throughout this. We have it, to jump ahead just a little bit, we know that it quotes Of Mice and Men
Mm-hmm.
to him, and then we learned that that's like a book that was very important to Carl.
Right.
We have it doing giving these smells that are very nostalgic to Carl from the circus.
Right.
It seems like it's kind of fucking with him, but there's a part of me that also reads this as, do the dungeon levels act as some sort of trauma immersion therapy in a way?
I don't know.
Is that weird to look at it that way?
I mean, well, because with the books, I'm so like, when is he going to have time to reread these? So what is their purpose?
Well, as the
Comfort.
floors go, you're going to see that they're going to have more and more time on these floors. And I
Okay.
think the original way it went was that every floor is almost double the amount of time as the previous floor.
Okay.
So there are floors in there in past crawls that you're on for like a month, 2 months.
Oh.
Yeah. So that can be a thing.
Yeah, he could potentially have time there, or he could have a little bit more of a space. Like they talk about being able to upgrade to spaces. Maybe you could just have a shelf where you can put your books, even if you don't have time to read them. But it is neat. Like he has these books, but there's a conflicted element to these books because they're a reminder of both like this escapism from his father, as well as a little bit of like this painful relationship he has with his father. And this book, this series seems to like touch on this a bit, continually, this past that he has, and much more so, like already in the beginning of this book, we're getting more characterization, a deeper, like richer, like pathos to these characters than we were getting, and maybe lamenting a bit in book one.
Yeah.
Of like, this is so plot and mechanic heavy that like we're not really getting to know these characters, and it's like, well, now you're getting a bit more,
Sure.
and it's heavy, and it all plays into the bigger structure of what this AI is able to read into him. And I don't know if it's pushing buttons or if it's supposed to be helping. I don't know.
Well, after this happens, right after they go through all their skills and their boxes and their achievements, they end up going, like Carl says, let's go clown hunting, and they go outside and they start doing, and that's where they find the Batistas, right? That's where they find all those dead crawlers.
You're right.
And there's reason for them to believe that it's a bait for an ambush, and it turns out that it is, and they can see the lemurs in the distance waiting to ambush them. So they're like, oh, those are the ones that are supposed to kill us when we find these crawlers. Donut kind of takes it upon herself to go over there and stealthily kill a lemur.
Mm-hmm.
And then she knocks it down and then has Mongo finish it off. And Carl scolds her. He's like, don't go and do stuff like that on your own. That's insane. And she's like, well, I needed to make a good example for my child.
Mm-hmm.
Carl says, he's not your child, he's your pet. We don't put our lives in danger for our pets.
Yeah.
And
immediately it's just like,
he just regrets saying that. And Donut is wounded by that.
I mean, we've all been there with our pets where we've said the wrong thing, but they don't all talk back to us. So,
well, I that was it was a big moment.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised they didn't drag it out longer.
They both kind of, I think Donut just kind of changed the subject.
Yeah, she changes the subject, but it's not. It's very shortly after that he kind of backs it up, reverses it to say like, well, you're my partner.
Yeah.
Like
good job, partner.
Yeah, good job, partner.
she looks at him, gives him some side eye, and she's like, all right.
Right.
Sure.
But just in most dramas, they would have dragged that out with a bunch of icy scenes and back and forth between them with Donut really like giving him the cold shoulder. But they were quick to have him like, which is a mature thing to do. I mean, I appreciate that they didn't drag it out.
It's one of those elements of this being an audiobook that has a lot more time to play with in how you're pacing the story, especially since this isn't just also a single book, but this is part of an ongoing series, that planting those moments, like we now have this like subtext for their interaction, and when this might crop up in a little bit tangentially in a later conversation, we're like, oh, remember how he said that?
Yeah.
Is she still holding on to that? Has she forgiven him? Has he rethought his position? Because he also goes on and says, like, I said it and I know it's harsh, but it's true, isn't it? And he's like trying to like get kind of like any sort of confirmation about that.
Right.
Like, that is how I should feel, right? Like, do we die for our pets? Am I trying to re-examine how I feel about that? We're in this whole other situation.
There's a whole chapter that can be written about that. And I would argue that as the series goes on, this is a question that's examined over and over and over.
Interesting.
Like just the relationship between people and their pets becomes a very important thing for a lot of different characters throughout the series. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
It definitely is a more humanizing confrontation between the both of them to examine what is their relationship, how much it's evolved since they both entered the dungeon as him carrying this cat that's clawing at him and biting him, to they now have this dynamic where they lean on each other.
It is changed so drastically, like the dynamic between,
and that we accept it.
And yeah, and it isn't like a human and a pet dynamic anymore. I think the reason that's such a biting line is that that's the way Donut kind of still sees the relationship, because that's all she's ever known.
Yeah.
But Carl has had friendships and familial relationships and all these other like rich relationships in his history that he could draw from and make those comparisons, where Donut only has the infallible strong kind of god figure that is the pet owner, the provider, it's really like an all powerful being that you're in love with, so like that's what Donut sees Carl and B as, more B than Carl at this point. But it's an interesting push and pull that's starting to happen.
It is interesting. I remember reading this thing about like, I'm gonna butcher how this is phrased, but it's essentially this idea that a person truly comes into their own as an adult once they no longer see their parents as these kind of godlike figures.
Yeah.
But they kind of recognize that they're just people as well.
Sure.
And there is like this dynamic of this putting Carl on a pedestal and then having him say something that really trivializes your relationship in some way that he just spoke before thinking. That does kind of make him take a step back, and him taking a step back does begin to equalize their relationship a bit more.
Right. But to her, it really diminished her place, I think, for a moment.
But then I think it's probably good for her to not also have him up on a pedestal.
Right.
Ultimately.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in that little interaction. There's a lot happening.
Well, and she has him on a pedestal, but it is, I say, significantly lower of a pedestal than where she has B.
Oh yeah, B is,
and even Ferdinand,
whoever that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The B thing is interesting. Like she has this reverence, and she talks about a lot about like an awareness of certain dynamics going on in their relationship. And I think that more and more as she's like growing awareness, she might come to terms with what their relationship was, and maybe having a little bit more maybe regaining some respect for him. I don't know.
So getting back to
Okay.
those, to that group of fallen crawlers, the Batista family,
Mhm.
one of them, they decided to loot them because there was still some like stuff that they were wearing that whoever killed them didn't loot because they just grabbed whatever was in their inventory and took off. But they still had some stuff. One of the things was this enchanted anklet of the fallen oak that Donut takes.
What more do you want to say?
I can't.
Here's what I'll say about that scene that I think is very significant. There's this guilt that Carl feels in seeing them, which we kind of touched on a little bit before, that he didn't take the opportunity to reach out to the other humans that he knew were in the vicinity.
Yeah.
Now that he sees that these people fell to some lemurs that when they threw knives at Carl, these knives bounced off of
They
him.
just bounced off of him.
But they clearly were able to successfully kill these other people. Other people are vulnerable around him, and those are his fellow humans,
They
even
killed-
if they're tree people now.
They killed an entire family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that moment also is a little bit like that's going to live with him, and he's going to have to kind of come to terms with what is not only his responsibility to him and Donut, but to humanity at large.
Man, all these things that he's got to come to terms with. It's just like, get in line, man.
It'll take a number of things I have to come to terms with.
Yeah.
What burdens you have. You're so important.
So they end up killing a bunch more lemurs, heading toward that circus
Mhm.
just to check it out, I guess, to see what's going on. And they see all these like posters, and some of them, there's one with the Serena Signet and her amazing battle squad.
She's like a fish elf.
Yeah. She's like
I
a
don't know what to call her.
like a
fish
scale,
elf.
a fish elf, a half naiad, half high elf or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm. The sign has a circle with a cross through it, and it says "Wanted Traitor."
I mean, this is
And if that wasn't enough, somebody walking by like pees on it.
this is very like Age of Apocalypse, I think, with
Sure.
all the X-Men posters and like, oh, they're all wanted. What happened in this world?
Yeah, and
But we don't care about her. We do care about Wolverine having a scratch out in his face. We're like, I don't know this lady. Okay.
But additionally, Carl and Donut notice that they're getting the area ready for some kind of battle or some kind of siege. Like they're moving, blockades out, and they're doing all sorts of stuff to prepare for a battle.
Well, I guess what I'm curious about is this quest they get roped into. What do you guys think about it? Do you think it's a good quest?
I don't know. Clowns are a weird thing. Because I don't have that clown phobia, but that whole circus stuff, me personally, I'm reading it and I'm thinking, if somebody gave, say, here's a quest involving a circus, I would just go, no thanks.
Yeah.
I don't want any part of that.
Do you think Matt has like a clown thing? I feel like anyone who writes about clowns are like, you probably have a clown thing, don't you?
Well,
What's going on with the
well,
clown?
people either have a clown thing or they think that everybody else does.
Right.
That could be it as well.
Or they just worked at Hot Topic.
Matt, did you work at Hot Topic?
Yeah,
What's going on?
I guarantee you he spent some time in a Hot Topic.
We all did.
Were you at Elliot's bachelor party?
No. Oh, wait. Yes, I was.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, how could you forget if you were
I
there?
thought I was like you were gonna say something else. I did go to that.
Yeah.
Was this bachelor party at a Hot Topic?
It was.
It was at a strip club, and it was carnival night.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So a lot of the strippers were dressed as clowns.
Yeah.
Or ringmasters, or
That girl broke the glass table.
yeah,
With her heel.
on the
That was it.
trapeze that broke, and
Sounds great.
Yeah, it was a good time. So yeah, we got a clown thing, and there's this soap opera, lost love of the ringmaster. I think what's more interesting to me, maybe the story itself between her and the ringmaster wasn't resonating so much as this idea that there's a game within the game, a show within the show,
Right.
and multiple of these, like where there are elites and Signet is an elite. That means she's not only an NPC player, but she's one that's controlled by
A team of writers.
a team of writers who have a different end game in sight, and they can change her motivations on a dime.
Right.
That makes it a lot less predictable how to navigate interacting with them. That's why Mordecai's like, get the hell out of there.
Mhm.
Don't deal with it.
I really love that when they finally come in contact with Signet, and he immediately feels attracted to her and starts walking towards her and realizes, oh shit, I'm getting an erection. Mordecai, what the hell's going on? There's an elite here. And he's like, get the hell out of there. Like, what are you doing? Holy crap, leave.
Even better though, Donut's like, Mordecai is really inappropriate. He has an erection. What does he say? He's making manga really uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, and Mordecai's like, yeah, get out of there, get away from her. And Carl's still like, well, I just want to see a little bit how this goes. I mean, I'm going to leave, but yeah, I mean.
Yeah, Mordecai's like, oh, the only way you can do that, like get rid of this charm that she has over you, is you got to break your pinky. Like, you got to break your own finger.
Again, Mordecai's coming in handy.
Oh, yeah.
Super good.
Bad phrasing, but it's very useful that Mordecai's there.
No, it's much better having him there.
Yeah.
Yeah. A sober Mordecai is worth it. Put that on a shirt. It's not a good saying.
No.
This is why I'm not a writer.
Now, Signet's got all these tattoos that like swimming across her skin.
Mm-hmm.
Looks really cool.
I want to talk to you more about that on our Patreon mini.
Okay.
I'll tell you that much.
Sure.
There's something about that I really want to discuss. But yeah, I think that it sounded hokey, the description of like her being able to summon these paper monsters from the tattoos. Remember that movie Elektra?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a tattoo person who could make their tattoos come alive that fought Elektra? Am I remembering that correctly?
Maybe. I've blanked most of that movie out.
The same here.
Yeah.
I think there was a tattoo villain and she could make these tattoos come to life off of her to attack. And I just kept thinking of that Elektra movie. I'm like, that's not cool.
Well, but that's been an idea that's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Way before Elektra. It's just interesting that the circus or the carnival part would have a fish woman and an illustrated woman, but they would all be the same person. Usually that's broken into two separate jobs.
She also has a beard. She's the whole trifecta right there.
Right.
Yeah. But like that they come out as these like wibbledy-wobbledy paper tattoo creatures when she finally is able to summon them. I thought, okay, this is just one of those things I think about, like, oh, they're going to adapt this into a TV show one day. How is that going to look?
Yeah.
It seems so silly.
I think it's going to look cool as hell.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I could really picture that.
I love, though, when Mordecai's like, nah, those are going to be, like, they actually will be able to fight really well. It's going to be pretty badass, actually.
Yeah, they're going to fight super well.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then I was like, if Mordecai likes it, then I like it.
Sure.
I guess. Yeah, I'm sold.
Yeah, he knows.
The way that she was supposed to summon those was that she needed a sacrifice, a blood sacrifice. It's all blood magic. And Carl learns that he was going to be the sacrifice.
Well, yeah, because she's like, you guys start the fight, and then my minions, my tattoo minions, will come and help you. And it's like, hey, where were those things? It's like, oh, well, I figured you died.
Yeah, you didn't die.
And I used your blood to do it, and you kind of messed up the plan by not dying. So
You get it. You get it, right?
You're supposed to
it's
get
really your fault.
You're supposed to get a killing blow, and all the blood would have drained from your body, and I would have had my minions, and I would have been able to attack the circus because that's what I do every day.
Do you think it was like he needed to bleed a lot, or even just like a little paper cut, and she could have been like, yoinks?
She said it had to be a killing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's why I was like, damn, I mean, like,
Yeah, because I was at that part too. I thought the same thing. It's like, would a cut have done it? But she said no, it had to be a killing blow.
Mm-hmm.
fair enough. He was gonna die anyway. In that case, that'd be okay.
But yeah, you're like, wow, Signet, you're kind of a bitch.
Wait, so what was the creature he fought the first time? that with Signet there, because the second time it's the bear.
Oh, right.
The first time, it was the lions, right?
Yeah.
He fought all those lions.
Mold lions.
Mold lions.
Yeah. She was having Carl and Donut defend her from mold lions.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what he was supposed to get killed in, like that encounter. But they ended up killing the mold lions. So after all this stuff was Signet, they end up back in the safe room. And Mordecai gives them shit. Like, he totally scolds them, like, for not taking his advice. And Carl's like, well, we didn't take your advice because you were too drunk to give it. And, like, there's this whole, like, friction between all of them because Mordecai isn't doing the thing that they were expecting Mordecai to do.
Right. Yeah, he's yelling at them for not taking his advice, yet he was too drunk to give it, and yet he won't he won't take full responsibility for that.
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit, but he's still like, well, still, you didn't listen to me.
Yeah, so I think that the part where Carl is talking to Signet and Mordecai's like, yeah, we got to get out of here. And Donut's like, yeah, we got to get out of here. And Carl's like, but I got one more question. And it's like, don't do it, man. He's like, I got to know. I got to know about the story. And like, no, you don't.
Yeah,
you don't need to know
really
more about the quest. You like, who gives a shit about the circus, man? You're going to go to another town. You're going to get out of Dodge. That's your whole game plan. And he's like, I got to know. So, like, why do you attack the circus? And then as soon as she says that, like, she explains that, she does her ask. And Carl just doesn't have the personality, I guess, right now to go, don't care, bye. Instead, she's like, I need you to come back and help me do this tomorrow. And he's like, sure, I'll see you tomorrow.
Because I can't kill a sacrifice myself. I need your help to do it for me.
And he shouldn't have said yes. What a dummy.
Carl is 27 years old. And when you're in your 20s, you're still curious about other people's stories. And 10 years later, when people are like, well, so here's the thing, you're like, I don't want to know.
I don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't have time right now.
Here's $1. Leave me alone. I gotta go. I have to go pick up my kids, man. Leave me alone. I'm so tired.
After they get done with that, they're in the safe room, and Mordecai's like, forget the quest. Like, just go to the city.
Yeah, don't even do it.
Nuts. Don't bother yourself with this.
Do you think this also ties in a little bit to those Louis L'Amour books? Is Louis L'Amour a real author?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't read those books, but I was thinking that there's something about the cowboy hero that maybe he just like resonates with a little bit. And it's like, there's a citizen in distress. I gotta ask. I gotta at least know the story.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that all just kind of ties together in Carl's personality. He can't let it go. He can't move past it. He needs to get that extra little crumb and see if he can mull it over and find a solution. Because we do see he is pretty clever and comes up with plans and solutions pretty quickly.
He does.
Yeah.
He's pretty consistent about that.
Mm-hmm.
So that tracks with, I just want to know what's going on with Signet. I want to know. I'm sorry, Mordecai.
I mean, I get that. Like, all right, maybe if you tell me your story, it's a problem that's simple enough that I can get in real quick and help you with no muss and no fuss.
Yeah, zip, zap, and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But over time, you learn that even scenarios like that don't really exist. And just by asking, you've obligated yourself to pitch in. So you don't even ask. You're like, I just don't know anything.
Also, there's something about me hearing this story of Grimaldi raising you and then taking you on as a lover that I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy.
That's all pretty gross.
Yeah. No, that's not family. That's Drake the groomer, man. Get out of there.
No.
Wow. Oh no. Hey Drake fans, I just want to say welcome. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please don't hate too much, but ew, he's kind of ew.
So while they're in the safe room, there's a recap show that comes on. We see some other crawlers. We see that we mentioned the footage of that primal fighting the kaiju.
Right.
But we also see Hecla, who's an Amazonian now. She was this a blonde kind of Valkyrie looking lady who is now like 2 whole feet taller than she was and just a beast.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, that was like because they're like they're doing
So
like
big.
they're showing race and class selections on the on this recap. We also see Lucia Marr, who was that little girl from South America
With the 2 Rottweilers.
with the 2 Rottweilers. She is now a full-grown woman who during the day is like a beautiful woman, and at night, or like they say half day and half day, but the other half of the day she's a skull-faced, terrifying
Demon
lady.
Yeah.
In both forms, she has like one of her legs ends in a hoof.
That's an odd one.
It's just clomping around.
Does that pull off of some sort of mythology?
Yeah, it's called Elijah Bless.
Elijah Bless. Is that in
Colombian.
Colombian mythology?
Oh, okay. All right.
I speak.
Greek.
I'm also Colombian.
I was like, oh, your culture, right?
Testa Punta, Elijah Bless. Got it.
You can tell us all about all this. Okay, sweet.
And she's a Black Inquisitor General class.
Which sounds like it's out of Star Wars, I think.
It does.
Isn't that one of them? The Black Inquisitor General?
Sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
It's a pretty cool sounding class to pick.
Anyway, so Carl, they're done with all the stuff that they need to do in the safe room and decide to have a sleep. And Carl notes that Donut is in her cat tree and is not sleeping with him. Mongo's also sleeping at the base of the cat tree, and Carl notices that Donut isn't exactly asleep, but she's got her eyes closed and she's with the candle burning and on the cat tree pretending she's somewhere safe.
She's just vibing.
Yeah.
I get it.
That was like a really cool bit there.
It was a little sad.
Yeah, it made me feel sad.
Melancholy. You feel for the emotions of Donut, who's out of her element?
Until the morning, because they're both like laying across him in the morning, which is how, okay, this is funny to me. Donut hates dogs. Mongo, for all intents and purposes, is a big dumb dog.
Yes.
Every character trait of Mongo is equal to dog.
True.
And yet, it's got feathers, which are beautiful, instead of a bunch of fur that makes you sneeze.
Right. But in the morning, Mongo's like laying across
The
Carl's
feet.
legs.
Yeah, like a dog.
Like a dog.
Yeah, basically a dog.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah.
But Carl's into it.
Yeah, that's his little family. It's
Uh-huh.
kind of a cute scene as well, like the sleeping arrangement of him and his cat and his his vaudeville little
His
raptor.
situation.
Yeah.
His bird dog.
Yeah.
Dog bird.
Yeah, in the morning, that's where like Donut's like, you gotta brush me. Like she's yelling at the babka, and we find out that Mordecai has given him a potion to like resist some of that charm, and then also find out that Mordecai and that potion gave him a little something to knock him out, get him drunk, as you said, so he could go steal that newsletter and learn about because he doesn't have any access to his codex anymore. Carl learns through the newsletter that there's a big battle event happening in that area in the next couple of days, and tells Carl and Donut, you guys should probably just get out of here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He doesn't.
He doesn't.
He does not get out of that.
That is not the Carl way.
Although, yeah, it's interesting that like there's nothing on their radar for Signet attacking, and somehow they just get stunned, paralyzed, knocked out. And when that happens, we not only get the quote from
Of Mice and Men.
Mice and Men of like, was it Larry or George? I don't remember. George when he kills the lady. Is that a spoiler?
No.
Hey guys, we're way past that chapter.
But Lenny's the one who kills the woman.
Oh, is it Lenny?
Yeah.
No, he kills a puppy. George kills a puppy? Who kills a puppy?
Lenny.
Okay.
He kills both.
Who kills the woman?
Lenny.
Yeah. Okay, I don't remember the names of them.
I haven't read that since I was like in the 6th grade.
Anyway, there's an interesting line about one of the achievements that Carl gets, and that is essentially that he is either he should have died. It's like a Lazarus achievement.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's like, you should have died, and that means either you're incredibly lucky or you're sleeping with the producer. To which I think it's the latter. The AI is essentially saying to Carl that he's sleeping with the AI, right?
Right.
Like, you are my chosen one. And is this an instance of the AI stepping in and straight up saving Carl from death?
I think so. It feels like that.
But did Signet pivot then to, I'm going to kidnap Donut once he lived through her attack and goes, okay, well, now I guess I'll do that? Or was it like she didn't actually mean to kill him? But it was a strong enough attack that he should have died.
I think the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I thought the idea that the AI is interfering to just save his foot pet, Carl, is fascinating.
If it's just that.
But we want Carl to win on his own merit.
Sure. But if in your game or your TV show you got a popular character like Carl or say Urkel, the show's going to get retooled around this character that is so popular.
True.
This might be the first time that Carl's been compared to Urkel,
Well,
but I love it.
I can swap out Fonzie if that makes you feel better.
No, I prefer Urkel, honestly. I think that's so funny.
You come off as a Screech man to me.
It's a little bit Screech. I do love a Screech. A good Screech.
So yeah, Carl gets stunned, paralyzed, and rendered unconscious when after they did everything in the safe room and they left. Happens mid-conversation. Like, they have no clue they're getting attacked when they get attacked. So it's a very abrupt status change for them.
Mm-hmm. That's when he wakes up and he starts freaking out, saying, I don't want to be alone.
Oh
yeah.
man. He goes through a full panic.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's his attachment that he's made in just a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same guy that started off the book series of being like, yeah, I broke up with her. I don't need drama. I can just be on my own. Now it's like, I don't want to be alone. I'm terrified of this. I can't handle any of this on my own. I need Donut.
Well, you have to look at the extreme situation they're in.
Right.
That there's nothing to compare it to. And it's funny how antagonistic they were with each other when it started. And yet they've both gone through these moments of, I can't do this without you.
Yeah.
I will fall apart. I will die if you're not here.
I think once they realized that the threat isn't just death, but it's also just losing who you are and losing your humanity. For as much as Cat can have humanity.
Yeah.
But
Catmanity.
Yeah, Catman, like everything, all of that is something real and is something that they really want to hold on to. Like, that's all they have left.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm totally listening to you, but I'm thinking that Catmanity doesn't work because the man word is still in there.
I glossed over it.
Catity? That doesn't work.
That doesn't sound right.
Felinity.
Oh, okay, Felinity.
There we go.
Yeah. It sounds like a J.J. Abrams show. Felinity.
Put it on the screen. Felinity.
Great.
So
Now you
just
got
Carrie Russell as a cat lady.
So yeah, Carl has a full-blown freak out. He is panicking, doesn't know where he is. He hears Mongo
Does
in
he
the
just
distance.
like pop a Xanax potion?
He does 2 of them.
Just right clicks on a Xanax potion.
He smokes like 12 marijuanas.
He's just like, that ain't so bad.
But
Actually.
he hears Mongo in the distance and finally just gets in contact with Mordecai. And Mordecai's like, calm down, get your bearings. Carl has another micro freak out when he realizes he's been unconscious for 15 hours.
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't just like a lights out, and now you're here. 15 hours have gone by.
Sure.
Terrifying.
What's Mordecai doing this whole time? He's like, well, I guess I got time to go get wasted again.
He's boning down. He's a fuck demon. You already talked about it.
Yeah.
He's a drunk fuck demon.
Text me when you wake back up, man. He's got time.
But yeah, that's when he finds out that he almost died from getting hit by that big spell. And he also realizes that Signet's in the room.
Right.
And she feels betrayed by him, and he's like, "Where's Donut?" And she's like, "He's safe. Don't worry. She's fine. She's asleep. She's gonna stay asleep." She's under a water lily spell, which is a really cool name for a spell, and a really cool theme for a spell.
Can you tell us about the water lily? El water lily?
Oh, is lily a Spanish word?
Lily? Is it pronounced Lily?
Well, where's my water lily spell done?
It's a Li. I think it's a silent.
So yeah, Donut is under this spell, and she's going to stay under that spell until Signet cancels the spell. If Signet dies, Donut dies. Essentially, Donut will stay asleep and can't be moved because a moved water lily dies. Right? And she's going to remain in that state until Carl does what he has to do for Signet, which is help her get a sacrifice so that Signet can attack the circus again.
I did not know this about water lilies. I'm becoming a little bit of an amateur botanist, I think, by reading these books.
You can't take a water lily out of the water.
But like, what if you put a cup or like a big enough like basin around it and like lift the water with it?
It's still in the water though.
Right?
Yeah.
So he could have just like taken the whole house now that he's like super hella strong and just like lifted the apartment and carried her with the
You think he might want to have her not in the water at some point?
As this goes, as you talk, I agree more and more with the person that left that really snarky message to you.
Also, I just want to say, this whole time I'm seeing Cate Blanchett as Signet.
Oh yeah, right?
Yeah.
Remember that time where she got really creepy in Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
it's kinda
exactly
like
what I'm
that
thinking
scene,
of.
right?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That was good.
Yeah. She's got to be like wearing all that fish makeup. She's going to hate it. It's like when Jennifer Lawrence had to be Mystique in all those movies. Like, no, I don't want to do that shit again. How much money? All right, I'll do it one time.
Yeah, they go down the stairs and downstairs in that building.
Yeah, don't say down the stairs.
Not the stairs, but downstairs in that building. And they see Donut. Donut's lying there. Carl thinks she looks really small and vulnerable. And the area that they're in is kind of exposed to the elements. Like anything can come into that area from the outside. Mongo's there and guarding her, but Mongo's a little death chicken.
Yeah.
You know? He feels like she's in danger, and she is.
Yeah, but like Signet vouched. And that should count for something. Signet's like, it's cool, bro. She's going to be fine as long as you ride and die with me for a few minutes.
She's proven herself to be nothing but trustworthy.
Yeah. A little bit problematic.
She wasn't lying about the spell, because Carl's like, we're not leaving her here. And he picks Donut up to move her, and her health just plummets.
Yeah.
So he puts her back down, and her health starts going up a little bit.
Yeah.
See, I'm talking about like a bucket. You put a bucket under her and you could carry her
no.
out of there as long as you don't
got
touch
it.
her.
We got it.
I think we understand.
Okay. I like that the separation happens here. So we now have an element of the story where Carl has to show what he can do without relying on Donut with her ranged weapon attacks. But also, he's like way under level in comparison to her, because like she has those really like stacked stats. So this whole like next sequence where he has to figure out how to fight first what's the bear's level? Is that it's not a city boss, a burrow boss?
Heather is she's some kind of boss.
I think she's a burrow boss.
I'm not
so
sure.
he has to fight a burrow boss, and then he encounters a city boss. I just like that he now has to problem solve on his own.
Yeah.
And he kind of benefits from that in a way.
It's like we're watching the series Avatar: The Last Airbender, and this is one of those episodes where one of the characters goes off on their own.
Yeah.
And has a solo adventure.
I love that series.
Of course.
So good. Heather the Bear is a level 19 neighborhood boss.
So let's talk a little bit about the Heather the Bear battle then. Because this bear is a big old black bear on roller skates with a skull head. I guess there's like a hat welded on, as like grafted on. I think he describes it like a unicorn.
And where black bears are normally not that big, this one is.
Yeah, this is described more like a grizzly in size, if not bigger. he's having to improvise and fight on the fly, and I think that the description of this fight sequence has this desperate frenetic energy to it that made me like kind of jumping and like trying to like wonder what he's going to do next in this fight more so than some of the other battles. I think how it was described was really good, especially that he torches and burns this bear.
Well, she's really strong and really fast, and she also has like worms for hands, like clusters of worms for hands. And anytime they touch him, voices happen in his head. And so like there's all of these like different things happening externally and internally, and it's such a dynamic scene. It's really cool.
What's great about how he actually ends up defeating is kind of by accident.
Oh yeah, Fireball or Custard.
He has a lotto ticket that's Fireball or Custard.
I forget when he gets that, but there's like a reward or a box that he gets.
Yeah.
Full of these like scratch off tickets that are like, you either get, there's a 50-50 chance that you'll either get like a Fireball that'll kill whatever you cast it at, or Custard, which will heal whatever you cast it at.
Also, shout out to Jeff Hayes for nailing the voice of Candy Crush when it's like Custard. I can't do the voice, but it was perfect. Because it's like, oh, it's just like the Candy Crush game that B would play. But the fact that had a healing property and the way to defeat the bear was to heal the parasites off of it.
Oh yeah,
was clever. It just made me go, oh, that's cool. And that we are reading to chapter 10. And I'm going to stop there, but I just think that's a cool thing that has maybe no implications for later chapters in the book. I have to keep remembering. We got to stick to our thing.
Yeah, she gets Custard and heals.
Custard.
And then all the parasites kind of go away, and she starts like rejuvenating, turning into a really old bear whose body is just kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
And she kind of, she begs Carl to take her life. And he does.
Yeah. I think that's the only way he could feel good about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he could have gently laid the bear down and administered a painless IV or something. He beats her to death.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's sort of how it has to go.
I know. I'm just saying. It's pretty brutal.
A gentle IV. Is that in his inventory as well?
It's just a brutal scene where I'm like, oh, this poor bear. Punch, or however it's described made me go, Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's
I
better
punched
than
through the skull.
than burning to death.
Yeah. Fair enough. But it does take this very, like, kind of morose turn with this sad bear that has been imprisoned and is just tired.
Yeah.
And it's one more glimpse into the just gross underbelly of this game.
Yeah, and we do see finally, because the spell has been cast, because the sacrifice has let all the blood out and into Signet, we see her illustrated army, which Carl describes as terrifying. He looks at them and he's like, I am fucked, because the smallest one is a 10-foot tall floating head, and the biggest one's a sea serpent that's like 3 stories tall.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's like 30 of them.
There's something described in like how once they go and attack the circus, like the ogre will like flip its little paper arm and then things will just destroy in front of it. And he's like, there must be like some other like modifier going on to like this attack that I can't see, because it totally didn't hit the guy, but like everything explodes in front of it. Which, again, when I think of like how this is going to be visualized one day in the film that we get to have cameos in, that's pretty cool. Thanks, Matt. It's gonna look crazy.
It's a TV series, which makes the bar.
It's got to be a TV series.
Yeah, which makes the bar to entry a lot easier for us to get cameos. And thanks, Matt.
Yeah. Can I die from an ogre attack? Okay, cool.
Oh, a couple of things that I forgot to mention that we skipped over. One thing, they got a message from Brandon and the Metal Art team.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, he ended up giving them like a quick update as to what was going on with them, that they're still at this point going through class and race selection, and that a lot of the
older people.
Yeah, the older people that were addled, you know?
They have cognitive issues. That's like trying to figure out what race and class characteristics they could pick that would salvage, I guess, and work, because they couldn't stay human.
Yeah, they couldn't stay human because otherwise they'd still have cognitive issues.
Sure.
And that they were getting a lot of pushback for that, and I totally get it. But
it was also cool they get legendary boxes for being pacifists.
For not killing anything.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So they just kind of skated by and got a bonus just because they got carried all the way down to the third floor.
Yeah, so they're loaded up with magical gear. Brandon stayed human. Imani and Chris did not.
But that's all we know. So.
That's all we know.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing is that the ringmaster, Grimaldi, the guy who owns the circus, during Skolopendra's 9-tier attack, got turned into a vine, like a giant vine that is kind of a plant fungus thing and has these mold spores that can infect stuff. And we find out that those spores infected those worms that will then infect another host.
Wait a second. Didn't we get a scene where Mordecai was way into plants and talking about how much he loves plants?
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's going to play into this.
Okay.
Well, we found out that...
Too heavy-handed. Okay.
We do find out, I'm not sure if it's in this book or the next book, but I don't think this is a big spoiler, that Audette did tell him back when she was his game guide and his manager, I guess, to learn as much as he can about mycology and things like that. And so he knows a lot about it.
That's fungus for you guys. I know about it too.
Yeah. Everybody's watching the Last of Us.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into this last chapter, chapter 10, because this is where Carl, now he enters into the circus using that ticket that they got early on from killing that clown.
Yeah, because Signet can't go in there herself. She's banished. So Carl has to do it for her.
Right.
And Carl had chatted Zev some time ago to ask her.
Kind of reach out to the producers, right?
Yeah, to reach out to the producers, see if they can like have a quick conversation or something, like send this message to the producers or whatever. And she's like been trying to get them on the line. And she, I think, ran because Carl had an idea for how he was going to resolve this whole situation. And she couldn't get to the producers yet, but she ended up running it by the Syndicate AI and said, they might allow that. There's going to be some like strict circumstances where we will allow that, but we still don't know as readers what that is,
As of chapter 10, we don't.
Right. As of this point, yeah.
But we will definitely talk about that in our next episode. Yeah. Now, we come to one of my favorite parts in this book, and one of the most curious parts as well at the tail end of this part, and that is when Carl has an aside where he starts reflecting on his childhood and why the circus actually is very significant to him. And this has to do with his mother taking him to the circus when he was very young. And there was this really sad moment where his mother's crying, but trying to tell him to like remember the circus because it's like this it was a joyful time for him,
right?
In his youth. It's clouded. There's this happiness to the smells and this one joyful memory that now he's remembering wasn't as glamorous as he once thought it was. But that smell that was like nostalgic in a very like comforting way is now mixed with this horror landscape that he finds himself in.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. I thought it was it's another layer of Carl and his relationship with his parents and himself that endeared him to me.
Yeah.
to us.
But you're not endeared to Carl already?
There's always room for more.
Okay.
But there's this fascinating part that I also have my second audio clip for.
Oh,
we're doing this again.
One more.
I had so little of my mom, so little memory I could call my own. It was one of the few things this fucking place couldn't possibly take from me. Yet that was exactly what had just happened. And it was so unexpected, so violent, so final that I no longer cared about the stupid plan, or of trying to save my life. I just wanted to tear it all down. But you don't want to hear about any of this shit, do you? It's not important. Not when we were weeks past the Earth's expiration date.
So,
it's a little fourth wall breaky, huh?
yeah, that is the first time he's referring to a you as the narrator.
Mm.
I wanted to ask you guys, who's the you? Who's he talking to?
Huh. Well, then it makes you wonder, is what we're reading, listening to, whatever, his journal from after the fact? Like he's been logging all this for whoever reads his memoir?
Could be. I think it's actually, there's two parts of that. There's the fact that he's referring to a you, that I think is like fascinating all of a sudden, because we've had a whole book and then another 9 chapters with no reference to he's dear diarying for an audience of someone.
Yeah.
I mean, oftentimes we just read from a person's perspective, and there's not that extra layer there in books. But also you see this glimmer of this extreme anger pop up again. This has happened a couple times where he's so angry and he doesn't know what to do with it, but it's triggered by the pollution of this otherwise previously, I guess, more pure memory he had. But yeah, it's such a good line, and I was like, "Oh, who's the you?"
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Again, there's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
So piggybacking off of that scene, he moves past the pain I guess he's feeling, and he gets on with it. He passes the ogre with the ice cream cone, who looks like the other ogre.
Kind of, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, what's going on?" There's like a similarity here. The family is like, there's some sort of family relationship between the tattoos on Signet and the other creatures, I guess, in the circus that haven't escaped. Or I feel like they're prisoners one way or the other, right?
Yeah, probably.
On her or in the circus. But he goes and sits in the tent, and this is where it's very video game, right? Like in a video game, you can imagine like Uncharted or something.
Sure.
Nathan Drake goes into a room and it's like there's 3 tent poles that all have to be collapsed simultaneously in order to trigger an event, but you're only one person. Do you have to like set up bombs on each one, or like, and we got a bomb guy, or like how do you trigger all of these? And instead, we get him going and casually sitting in the audience and poisoning himself and putting his bloody hand on the root to poison the root of the vine of Grimaldi.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of where we leave, but it's a cool cliffhanger scene, I think.
Yeah, he learns that from Mordecai. Like we said, he has a lot of experience with plant life, and especially pestiferous vines, which like Mordecai knew all about.
Pestiferous is made of pasta, I believe.
It's not pestiferous.
Oh. Wrong type of vine.
But
Sorry.
Mordecai said, like, those things love blood. They'll eat blood up like crazy. And fine, we glossed over that Ringmaster Grimaldi is the giant vine. He is an elite, also a level 85 city boss. Like, level 85 city boss. And an elite.
Carl doesn't even bat an eye.
No, he's
like, I don't know if you remember the Rage Elemental?
Yeah, come on.
I got this. Throw a couple bombs right on a motorcycle away.
83, that's so adorable.
Elite, I already know one.
Well, he takes off his cloak so he can't get poisoned, and then he hides it. He hides his lap so he can shit himself about the city boss. Yeah, he's like, no one knows.
So much shit.
Yeah, he's totally saves face.
But yeah, he cuts his hand. Like he poisons himself by taking 2 potions back to back before like the cool off passes, and cuts his hand and bleeds on the vine, and it absorbs in there, and he immediately heals himself and takes a poison antidote, and says, I have no idea if this worked or not.
Sure.
Like there's no indication, because Mordecai says they'll just die 15 or 20 minutes later, but they won't know that they're poisoned. Like the vine won't know that it's poisoned, and there's not going to be any indication that it's poisoned. It's just going to keep going on the way it is.
So is this like a full workaround? Like, because he was presented with like, hey, you need to collapse the 3 tent poles. And instead he's like, oh, I know an alternate. I'm just going to poison it instead of having to deal with the 3 tent poles.
This was part of the plan that he I assume this is part of the plan that he's telling Zev to run by the producers. Because like, yeah, I know how you set this whole thing up. I have my own idea, and this is part of that idea.
I don't think it is.
Oh.
I just read ahead.
Okay.
So I'll challenge that idea. Because he's also hiding it. He's hiding it from the producers and says specifically, I hope they haven't caught on to what I'm about to do here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a whole lot of, I don't want to alert them and have them change the rules before I can do the thing I got to do. Now, I don't want to jump ahead, but hasn't this been a thing where he wants to do something and Donut has already said, we're just guest stars and we can easily be killed.
Yeah.
We can be killed off, so don't get too ahead of yourself.
Yeah, that was a great moment where like she's like, I have more awareness of how TV mechanics work, and we're expendable.
Yeah.
That's something that Mordecai also kind of alluded to.
Unless you're Urkel.
Unless you're Urkel.
Oh my
gosh, he's Urkel. He's Carl Tunn. Oh, shit. I get it. Okay. So in the next chapter, he's going to do this swing and dance. It's going to be great. I guess that's it.
That's it.
We've done a pretty comprehensive look this time.
Yeah, nobody can say we didn't cover enough this time.
We came in heavy in this. I was joking about it being a 6-hour episode at the start. Now look at us.
Yeah.
Look at us. 7 hours later.
You had a fucking game for us, an audio clip.
I know. Look at all that.
So much. We really went for it. We will not do this with the next bit. But
the next one's going to be a brisk 13 minutes.
Yeah, we're like, you know what happened.
Just kind of skim the surface.
Yeah, just read the book. Huh?
Yeah.
What else are we going to add to that?
Cliff notes of the cliff notes.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and checking out our show. We would love to know what you guys think in the comments. You can hit us up if you're checking us out on YouTube. Some people have been supporting us by sharing the posts over on Reddit. I've seen those, and thank you so much.
Oh, that's cool.
Appreciate the love that we're getting over there, and even the criticism. We welcome those, and we're going to learn from them and try and make this a little bit better as we go along. We've mentioned this at the top of the show, but I'll mention it again. Next episode is going to be chapters 11 through 18. That means read to the end of 18. Stop before you get to 19. And that's what we'll be covering for episode 2. We anticipate that that book 2, which is the shortest of the series so far, is only going to be a 3-parter by us. But that does mean that this first episode's pretty big. A lot to cover, especially in the introduction of level 3 and a lot of the changes that have happened here. But another way that you guys can help us out is to go to patreon.com/hellocrawlers. Rubio and I do a deeper dive where we talk about things that we can't talk about around Martin because we've read all 7 books. He hasn't yet.
And they won't let me.
He's
pumping the brakes on that guy.
I guess at a certain point we can just like let him loose, finish the rest and catch up, and then just join us on the deep crawl.
Yeah, and we also have our own projects too. We are on another podcast called The Beerists.
Yes.
that comes out every week. It's a beer show. And Martin, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Oh, well, you can catch me on Double Toasted 3 nights a week, where we live stream shows 5 nights a week, sometimes 6, depending. And we talk about mostly movies, but it ventures into pop culture and even current events sometimes.
Yeah, check that out. doubletoasted.com.
Yes. On Twitch, you can see clips on YouTube. You can subscribe at doubletoasted.com. If you subscribe to doubletoasted.com, wait for a nominal fee, or go through Twitch, you get to see the whole show. YouTube, it's free, but you're cheating yourself because the clips are shortened.
Don't cheat yourself. Get the bonus stuff.
Oh, and full audio on Spotify and Apple Music and SoundCloud.
Oh.
We're everywhere.
We're also on those platforms. If you guys want to give us a rating and recommendation, that's very helpful. I got one here on Apple from Carl's Dirty Piggy, who says, "Da bomb. Long-time listener, first-time crawler. Nice. The foot smushiest jugaboom podcasters under the surface of the planet. Hopefully they aren't agents of the Kuatine." 5 stars. You guys can also give us your little 5 stars, and if they're not offensive, I'll read them on here.
Did he call us a jugaboom?
I think he was talking about himself, right?
No, the foot smushes jugaboom podcasters. Maybe.
I think you mispronounced jugaboom when you said it.
I did not.
And it sounded really...
I did not.
I didn't like it.
I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, you could probably bleep it out.
You're making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, you beep that word to make it sound worse than what it is.
You don't give up the game. I'm doing the 5D Carl chess to him. You ruined it.
Get out there and read.